What does the creation narrative offer to the scientist? One, the first one says bara. In the beginning, God, Yahweh, bara. That's the Hebrew word. What does bara mean? When you look up bara in the dictionary, in the Strongs, it says create, can be creator, choose, make, cut down, dispatch, done. There's many meanings. But when the word bara is used to mean to create, listen to this. The only subject that can be used with it is God. We use create here. Oh, he's a creative person. Oh, did you create this beautiful job? No, this is not a bara word that they can use in Hebrew. When the Hebrew person says bara, the subject who is using it as a verb is God, has to be God. You can use it in other ways. You can use it as to cut down a tree, or to dispatch, or to be done with something. You can use it with anybody, but when it comes to create, it has to be God. The next word that I want you to get used to is called creation ex nihilo. What does creation ex nihilo means? It's a Latin word, is to create out of nothing. Out of nothing. There was nothing. So evolution has to tell us that there is something that evolved. To evolve is to come from something. Something comes from another thing. But creation ex nihilo means to create out of nothing. This is an agreement among scientists. There's an agreement about the Big Bang Theory. I just told you that the universe at one point did not exist. All of a sudden, you have this one singularity, they call it, of few millimeters that the Big Bang comes out of. And they keep telling you there was like there's a huge amount of energy. You can find something like this in what they call the black hole. But then all of a sudden, you have four forces coming out of it. The big force, the magnetic force, the gravitational force, and all the four forces, I forgot the fourth one, they have to kind of one by one split from this singularity. And as they split, material starts to form. This Big Bang says, basically, there was a time that the universe did not exist. Okay, good. Once scientists, there's no disagreement about that, by the way, even the atheists. So the big question comes, so how did the universe come to exist? All right, let me just ask this question a different way. If something doesn't exist, can it exist itself? There has to be somebody else or something else who made it to exist. So once you say that the universe did not exist at one point, you actually has assured the presence of an external power, a God, a higher power that actually worked on the universe to exist. So Big Bang Theory supports the Genesis account of what? Of bara, creation ex nihilo, means God had created things from nothing. So the theory affirms a beginning for the universe. They came up with many ideas, crazy ideas, said there are actually multiple universes. They keep circling in and out of each other. And they said even that, according to the data we have today, they have to have a beginning. So there is no way to escape that. The universe had a beginning. So the creator has to will the existence from nothing. There's nothing else that we can say about this. The night and the day, what is the Hebrew word for day? Now, we're going to talk specifically about the old earth, young earth. What's a day? What's the Hebrew word for a day? Very familiar one. Yom. Yom. So that's the word for Hebrew for day. So when you read the word Yom in the Bible, how do we know what it means? We go through all the Bible from beginning to end, the Hebrew Bible, and see how the Hebrew people used it. And you would see that Yom has, if you read the dictionary, it has almost a whole page of different meanings. What are the different meanings? I wrote it down in the references here. It says afternoon, age, all, always, amount, battle, birthday, chronicles, completely, continually, course, daily, daily the days, day of the days, day that the period, days every day, daylight, they call it the heat of the day, and it goes on and on and on and on. What does it mean? That this day word does not mean 24 hours. It does not mean 24 hours. When people insist it has to be 24 hours, they are not giving you the right understanding of the word yom. I'll give you a very clear proof. When God told Adam, the day, yom, you eat of it, you shall surely die. And the father of the church commented on this. He said, what is he talking about? What day he's talking about? It's actually Adam's day, which is his age. His age was not supposed to have an end. Do you understand? So that death happened in the age of Adam. And the fathers even went to say, that's why he didn't finish 1,000 years. Because 1,000 years for God is a day. But I'm talking about the age of Adam. In his age, he would die. So he would not continue to be forever. That he would be limited, that his day will finish and there will be a night. And then the beginning of chapter 2. Listen to this. This is the beginning, chapter 2, how it begins in Genesis. This is the beginnings of heaven and earth, the day the Lord made them. The yom, that the Lord made them. Did God make them in a day? There was the age, the period of time that God had made the heaven and earth. So this is the word day. You say the day of King David. When Jesus speaks about it is your hour. What is the hour? It's the hour and the power of darkness. What's the hour and the power of darkness? It took them how long to kill him? From the time they captured him to the time he gave up the spirit, it's about 20 hours or maybe 18 hours. It's not one single hour. So this is the language the Bible used, the time, day and hour. Okay? The first time this word appears in Genesis, it appeared in Genesis 1:5. God called the light day and the darkness he called night. Among the many meanings of the word yom, day, there are age, period, year, years, as well as daylight or a full day. It can be taken to mean 24-hour day or a whole aeon for all what we concern about. Or period as in the day the Lord God made the earth and heavens. In the first chapter, it is the period of time during which a specific creation or creations were made. When God was active. Jesus is going to explain that we read it today. He said, we have to work while it is still day. What does it mean we have to work while it's still day? You know that human beings work when it is day, usually, unless you're working at night for a shift or something. But usually people work at day. So the day is the time where we are actively working. What happens at night? We sleep. What happens at night? Thieves come to steal. Death comes at night. A lot of things that happen at night. The Bible actually speaks about the day and the night in a different way than we think about them as 24 hours. Let's not go far. What's the polar day? Polar day. When you go to the North Pole and call it a day, what would it be? How long is the polar day? Anybody knows? Not North Pole, South Pole. Have you seen the March of the Penguins? No? It's a very good movie if you want to watch. It talks about South Pole penguins, real documentary. What's a polar day? And what's a polar night? How long is a polar day? Anybody knows? It's the top of the axis of the Earth rotation. So the Earth, for a day and night, it turns like this, and this is the axis, turns like this. But then during the seasons, it tilts like this. So the Earth, it goes like this, and then from season to season, it goes like that. So what's a polar day? In the summer, the North Pole is facing the sun with an angle. So if you're in the North Pole, and you can see this on YouTube if you want, you say, lapse time North Pole day, lapse time North Pole night. What would you see? If you're standing on the North Pole exactly, and you're looking in a day, you would see the sun here. And as the day goes by, the sun starts to move like that, like that, like that, like that, like that, like that. Circle, all the way it comes back to, in 24 hours, it comes back to the same point, and it continues again. How long does the sun do that? All what it does, the sun, is actually go up a little bit, and come back down. So goes up and keeps turning. Every day is a circle. How long does the sun do this for? Give me a number. A week, a month, 2 months? 6 months. But what happens when the 6 months finish? The sun keeps dropping down back to the place where it came from, and then what disappears under the horizon. And for 6 months, what happens? You have absolute night. So what's the polar day? How long is a polar day? 6 months. How long is a polar night? So now you have it. You don't have to go back or forward or to think about anything, to think about what a day can be. According to the definition, a day is light and the night is, and God called the light day and he called the darkness night. So what happened? We're going to have to look into this again. So in the creation days, God created things. What happened in the night? There was no creation. Actually, there was destruction. There was annihilation. There was extinction in the night. And we start again a new day with a new creation, a new atmosphere, a new everything. Let's go into the next piece here. So we can stop. So the night is a period of darkness. The day is a period of light. The darkness is a time during which no creation was made. Elsewhere in the Bible, just look, focus on the Bible now. Night means what? I'm going to jump ahead and give you a little bit of hints about what we're going to study later. Tell me about a night that was coupled with destruction. It should be very simple. The 9th plague in Egypt, what was it? A darkness. And even the darkness was so much, they said that God told Moses, they will feel it. The darkness can be felt, can be touched. Apparently, I can think of it this way, they cannot see their own noses. It's so dark that even the light they put on the sun didn't really make any difference. It doesn't make any difference if you open your eyes or close them. This is how dark it was in Egypt. The 9th plague. What was the 10th plague? The death of the firstborn happened while the darkness is still on. The darkness did not let go until the death of the firstborn was finished, completed. Then the sun rose and the light came back. So what is death coupled with in the Bible? Death. Night coupled with death and destruction. That's why Jesus said it's your hour and it is your hour and the power of darkness. Meaning what? You're going to have to put him to death. He's the light of the world. And then immediately before he dies, what happens? As he's struggling to gasp for air and about to give up the spirit, what's happening in the place? It's dark. So in the Bible itself, the description of night is the description of death and chaos, back to chaos. Because the first thing God created before he does any other creation was light. In the current information from paleontology reveals, listen to this. I want you to be aware of this. Go up and you can look it up, and I'm gonna maybe I show you something here. Go look up National Geographic and the Earth age, and there's a chart. There's 6 periods that is brimming with life, and there's 5 periods of destruction. Believe it or not. Okay? No, because why? We have the first night is before the first day. So we're not counting that. That's the darkness that was beginning of everything. God said, let there be light. But since the light came, there's 5. The second night, the third night, the fourth night, the fifth night, the sixth night. Is there a 7th night? No. Why is there no 6th night, a 7th night? Because Adam was created on the 6th day. If there's going to be a 6th night, what would happen? Adam and the humans will be gone. So actually, I want to give you that if I can. It is, I have it in I'm just going to show it to you and you can look it up online. The 5 nights of paleontology. It's in my pictures, I think. And I want to show you this. Here, this one, it's a PDF. Let me share this with you. Where is it? You want to see, again, takes forever. Here we go. Okay. This is from National Geographic. Let me share it so that people online don't really miss this, because I want them to see it. Share screen. And here it is. Okay. These are the ages, the age of the Earth. You can see the logo of National Geographic on top. And here it is. I want you to look at this very small star here. What does it say? What does it say, this star? Mass extinction event. Okay? And then when you go down, count the stars with me. How many stars? 1. This is the extinction of dinosaurs. That's the 5th, the 6th night. What is this? Number 2, 3, 4, 5. Before that, let's go back to life. You have a primitive life in this one and goes to a little bit more complicated life, and then you have a big destruction. And then this life continues a little bit, and then another destruction, then another kind of life, and a big destruction, another life, and a bigger destruction. And then the last one, 65 million years ago, when the dinosaurs were extinct. How many? Are you following what I'm saying about how we define night and how we define day? Life appears. That's what the paleontologists have found. Life in the fossils appeared. There's a lot of life. One of them is something that's very baffling to the evolutionary scientists. They said something called the Cambrian explosion. They found a mountain in Canada that's filled with fossils all of a sudden. There's no precursors. There's nothing that actually they evolved from. All of a sudden, there's a huge quarry of fossils in Canada, found by the first one who established the Smithsonian Museum. He's been traveling with his wife, and all of a sudden a rock came down, and he picked the rock, and he found a fossil in it. And then he started digging in this mountain. Tens of thousands of fossils recovered for creatures that had no precursors. They couldn't find anything before them. And they're trying to explain it until today. They don't know how to explain that all of this life appeared. That's why they call it Cambrian explosion of life. So you have 5 periods of destruction matching the 5 nights. Okay? But we had to first understand the language that the Bible is written in and the words, what it means, before we go into the science. If you just take people words, not examine yourself, you're going to be fooled. They will trick you. Okay? So I'm going to shut this one, stop sharing, and go back to our document. You can find, this is National Geographic. It's called National Geographic, The Age of the Earth, and you can get it from there. Let us share the document again. So there are 5 periods of darkness were attributed to global events like the snowball Earth, massive volcanic eruptions, and meteor collision. The last one was a meteor collision in Texas that set up a whole destruction. And by the way, when they describe paleontology, when they describe each of this, they said darkness. Earth was completely dark for maybe 1 million years, maybe for thousands of years. I don't know how many times, but it was completely dark. There was no air, no light coming down to Earth. A snowball means a mile thick snow covering the Earth. That's glaciers before the Ice Age. This is not the Ice Age. This is something much bigger than the Ice Age. Everything is a glaciated, very thick ice. And it actually kills all the life on Earth except very little creatures that would survive. Or the meteor that hit the Earth in Mexico. And there's a beautiful story about this, about finding, they call it the tombstone layer in the sediment. They have a layer of ash that covers all the fossils of dinosaurs. Almost no dinosaurs survived on top of this. And they said, what is this? They call the tombstone, means the tombstone of dinosaurs. It was discovered it's full of iridium. And iridium is an element that's not rich on Earth. It has to come from, so they said there has to be death from above. Dinosaurs. Let's go ahead and study this before we stop this piece. The word dinosaur does not appear in the Bible, of course. Why would it appear? Because it was coined as a word when 1824. Nobody said the word dinosaur before 1824. Why? 148 years after the finding of a dinosaur tooth in England in 1676. So the first fossil of dinosaur that they could recognize, although the Chinese had known about it before, but the world didn't know about it, they called them dragons. That's why the Chinese is fond of dragons, because they have lots of ancient fossils they discovered about dinosaurs, and they were fascinated by them, but this is not transmitted to us. But the Western world knew about dinosaurs. 1676, they found a big tooth, and it was a wife of a doctor, and he studied anatomy and said, that doesn't sound like a tooth of any animal I know. Let me compare it. And he looked into his textbooks and found it looks like exactly the tooth of a lizard. But it is like 1,000 times the size of a lizard. And he was like, wow, that has to be a huge lizard. So based on this, in later in 148, they called dinosaurs terrible lizards. Saurus is a lizard. Dino is like dynamite. What does it mean? Terrible. Terrible lizard. Something scary. So they called the terrible lizard. The Hebrew Bible used the word tannin. Actually, it's translated literally in the Arabic. If you read the Bible in the Arabic, it says at-tannanin al-azam, the great tannin. What does tannin mean in Hebrew? The word is coupled with gadol. Gadol means great. Kohen gadol means the great high priest, or the high priest, the great priest. Tannin gadol means the great tannin. What is tannin? If you translate it before this, I would call it dragon. That's why the Chinese called it dragon. What doesn't mean like a real animal. So let me just give you a little example. Why did not the Bible, the New King James that you have, write down dinosaurs? Basically because the word, when they translated the Bible from Hebrew, from the Masoretic, did not know the word dinosaur. What did they have other than dinosaur? They have other things. So these two words mean great monsters of sea or land. The King James Version, the origin of the New King James, was commissioned. They started working by King James in England, 1604. He paid the money and was finished 1611. This was 65 years before the discovery of the first dinosaur fossil. This might explain why the King James and its newer version, New King James, translated Tannin Hagadol to great whales. Why? Why do you think? Can you explain this? Because if they translated dragons, how would the person who read the Bible think of it? Let's say I read the Bible and say, oh, the Bible is talking about dragons now. What would you say? I personally would say this is a mythology. They're telling us fairy tales, like the stories of, scary to kids and stuff. There's no such thing. There's no dragons. I'm not aware of any dragon. But they were really existing. The ancient didn't know about them. Maybe Chinese did, and Moses wouldn't know about them. So they said, so if you put Gadol next to Tannin, it's a great monster. But you put Gadol, it's a great monster, means huge, extremely big, and was done before the finding of fossils. The translation was done before the finding of the fossil. So they picked one of the weaker translation, whale, great whales. Oh, this will be accepted by people. Now it is not acceptable, but still have the translation. And translation didn't change. If you open the fifth day, it will say God created the birds and the sea creatures and great whales. That's not the translation. That's not correct. So the word used to describe ancient huge monsters would have been dragon. This would have made the Bible more of an ancient mythology rather than true facts to the readers of the early 17th century. Of note, the Arabic Van Dyck translation used the word great tannins in describing the same creatures. Dinosaurs are grouped with birds and sea creatures on the fifth day, which corresponds to the current scientific grouping of birds and dinosaurs. What do the scientists, the paleontologist says? You want to see dinosaurs today? You want to? Look at your chicken dish. These are dinosaurs because these are the descendants. The dinosaurs are the ancestors of the birds. Okay. All right. Let's